They've burned down entire towns.
Electrical transmission lines that were owned and operated by PG&E caused the deadliest and most destructive fire in our state's history.
They've doubled the price in just 5 years.
Power bill, it is going up again. Today, the company was granted its 4th rate increase this year.
They've gone bankrupt twice, and we bailed them out.
Whether it's through a bailout, a bankruptcy, PG&E has a million ways of trying to make us pay for its mistakes.
And yet we have no choice but to keep paying them. This is Pacific Gas and Electric, or PG&E, the most hated utility company in America. Growing up with California's premier gas and electric company, PG&E has always been part of the problem, if not the entire problem. I've never heard someone say, "Oh my gosh, I love PG&E. Those people, they're doing such a great job."
Just last week, 1/3 of San Francisco lost power for over a day, breaking Waymos all over the city, all because PG&E equipment couldn't handle a little rain.
Oh shit, here we go again.
And if it feels like their goal is to speedrun every bad thing a company can do, you're onto something. Kill people? Check. Absolve yourself from responsibility? Check. Get sued to oblivion? Check. The list goes on and on. Today, I'm going to tell you about how this 100-year-old utility company got here, and if there's any remote possibility that Californians can get out of this relationship that they never wanted. The PG&E that we know today was formed in 1905 as a merger of two other utility companies. One was the San Francisco Gas Company, which started in 1852. Between then and the early 1900s, competitors would pop up and SFGC would either buy or merge with them. The other side of PG&E was a latecomer called the Yuba Power Company, which started in 1890. Yuba Power also gobbled up competing utilities, and in 1905, they merged with San Francisco Gas and Electric, forming today's Pacific Gas and Electric, or PG&E. Shortly after, any remaining competitors were dealt a blow that they couldn't come back from. The deadliest earthquake in United States history hit San Francisco in 1906. 80% of the city burned down, and while it was one of San Francisco's biggest tragedies, PG&E was positioned better than anyone else. They were the biggest utility in the area, and they built new utility infrastructure, while all of their smaller competitors stopped operating because they couldn't afford to compete. PG&E pretty much kept buying up competitors as they got bigger, like No Face in Spirited Away. They just kept getting bigger to the point that it was uncontrollable. But that's the issue. A lot of PG&E's problems today stem from this century of mergers and acquisitions. PG&E shifts blame when disaster strikes, gets taxpayer money to fix those self-inflicted disasters, increases prices to pay for those fuck-ups, then diverts that money to executive pay. And they repeat this playbook, disaster after disaster, because they can. They're literally the only option to choose from if you don't want to live that Amish lifestyle. In 2010, just 2 miles away from SFO, California's second busiest airport, a natural gas pipeline exploded in San Bruno. The explosion created a 72-foot-long crater, spewing a 3,000-pound segment of pipeline 100 feet into the air, and registered a 1.1 magnitude earthquake. It's almost hard to believe because of how comical that sounds. But this explosion killed 8 people and injured 58 others. It destroyed 39 homes and damaged 70 others. And it caused everyone who uses PG&E to take a step back and wonder, could the same thing happen to me? Of course, it could, and it did. In 2014, a cottage in the affluent town of Carmel by the Sea blew up because of a punctured pipeline. And in 2015, another pipeline exploded in Fresno, in Central California, injuring 10 people. Both events were attributed back to PG&E issues.
And earlier this month, this house in Hayward blew up because PG&E didn't follow standard protocol.
But back to San Bruno. After the dust settled and multiple investigations and lawsuits uncovered the full timeline, it turns out that PG&E executives had back-channel talks with the California Public Utilities Commission, which is the state's arm that regulates PG&E, on how to respond to this crisis. When the CPUC was investigating the explosion, PG&E asked them to focus their attention away from the source of the problem, and they did. And when dealing with the lawsuits coming from this, PG&E asked the CPUC for their influence to get a judge who would be easier on PG&E. And apparently, the CPUC had indicated to PG&E that they offered to help in any way they could if they were becoming an obstacle. Isn't that the fucking point? In the end, PG&E was fined $1.6 billion for violations related to the explosion, the largest utility fine ever at the time. They were also required to pay $100 million for getting in bed with the CPUC, and another $3 million in a local lawsuit. PG&E was very explicit that none of this money was going to come from ratepayers. But here's the problem with that. Now, I'm no business expert, but here's my rudimentary understanding of how utility companies work. PG&E buys or creates raw energy from wind plants, nuclear plants, solar plants, and so forth. They mark it up for their troubles, deliver it to our homes, and we pay them the rate they set. Which is super confusing, by the way. But my basic understanding is that PG&E doesn't make money any other way. Tell me in the comments if I'm completely wrong. The PG&E explosion settlement mentions that PG&E shareholders were going to contribute $850 million for safety improvements. But again, if that's the case, wouldn't I, as an investor, just drop PG&E from my Robinhood account? All that to say, PG&E can move money from shareholders by diluting the stock to pay for these settlements, which will drive investors away. And to win investors back, PG&E raises rates, again, to show that they're profitable. PG&E fucks up and ratepayers pay for it. On top of that, as a Californian, when PG&E can't pay for their fuck-ups through rate increases, they're bailed out by the state with taxpayer money. And that's what happened next, in an event that pales in comparison to this explosion. In 2017 and 2018, wildfires consumed Northern California. In 2017, 17 of 18 wildfires were attributed to PG&E equipment like sparking power lines that ignited flames. And a year later, the Camp Fire leveled the entire town of Paradise in Northern California.
Thursday morning, it was paradise lost, hell on earth, as winding mountain roads became death traps.
The fire killed 85 people, burned 150,000 acres, and was named the most deadly and destructive fire in California history. And it was caused by a faulty PG&E power transmission tower, which, no surprise, was due to no negligence. And I just want to be clear, fires happen in California. It's part of a centuries-long cycle. PG&E equipment was just the match that lit them. But people are on the line, like this couple who started a fire at their gender reveal party.
The couple whose botched gender reveal sparked the deadly El Dorado fire in 2020. They have agreed to a plea deal. It includes jail time, community service, and nearly $2 million in restitution.
It's not like PG&E doesn't know this. They work with very fire-friendly equipment. Any slightly more than savvy utility owner would know that if you destroy an entire town, your business is done and you're going to prison. And because of that, you're gonna do inspections, you're gonna audit your equipment, you're gonna underground power lines. And if something does happen, at least you've done as much as you can. But monopolies think differently. At PG&E, they cheap out on inspections. They defer on maintenance, and they take short-term profits to give dividends to shareholders and executives. And if anything does happen, no one goes to prison, and ratepayers will bail them out. And that's exactly what happened. In 2012, it was revealed that between 1999 and 2010, millions of dollars that were supposed to go towards safety and maintenance were diverted to CEO pay. Anyway, there were a ton of investigations and lawsuits resulting from the wildfires, and all of it led to PG&E being responsible for most of the destruction. In 2019, PG&E filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection.
PG&E announces it's just hours away from filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It's a move being heavily criticized tonight.
They just couldn't pay for all of the lawsuits, fines, and settlements related to the fires. At this point, they're liable for $30 billion. Remember that pipeline explosion? That was less than $2 billion in fines. But how do they pay for all this? Well, they jacked up the price for all customers. At first, just 4%. Not that much. But if you're a Californian, you know what happened.
Today, the utility got permission to get $5.5 billion in bank loans.
The state let PG&E collect $27 billion from ratepayers to pay for wildfire prevention. Another fee. That's this line item on our bills. Then, PG&E issued bonds, which essentially gave them a $17 billion loan to be paid back with interest through ratepayers. That's this line item on our bills. And later, the state passed a bill that gave California utilities $21 billion in insurance to cover future fire liabilities. So when there's a fire in the future and PG&E is liable, they'll get bailed out with this. And who's funding this insurance? Half of it comes from the utility companies. But how do utility companies make money? Ratepayers. And the other half comes from ratepayers too. It's a fixed charge on Californians' bills. So you might be asking,
I've been paying these junk fees for years. What's new?
These fees started in 2001, the first time PG&E went through bankruptcy during the Enron era energy crisis. A topic for another video. The charges were supposed to expire in 2021. Californians were paying for a fuck-up for 20 years. And now it just keeps going. PG&E started as a monopoly 100 years ago, got even bigger, wielded their influence over the people that were supposed to regulate them, and passed off their fuck-ups to the people that are paying for their subpar service. The pipeline explosion and wildfires were some of PG&E's biggest failures, and they all happened this century. But this company has been embroiled in scandal for decades. They've had every opportunity to do the right thing and turned away from that each and every time, while claiming that safety is their priority.
We're doing everything we can to increase our safety culture.
We have gone through a paradigm shift. We're creating a new safety culture here at PG&E.
Every day, we're working to make California's energy system safer and stronger than the day before.
PG&E has also been embroiled in other scandals, like inflating electricity costs through their meters and bribery, among all of the corruption that we already talked about. And these are only the things that we know about. And then they turn around and have the audacity to air ads like this.
I'm not happy with the way that PG&E handled the wildfires.
Yeah. I totally understand. We're adding a ton of sensors so that there's not a risk that's going to fall to the ground and start a fire.
Okay.
There's a whole series of these ads with PG&E reps talking to real customers about their concerns. I honestly can't tell if they're bad on purpose, because the reps don't actually address the questions.
I don't ever see anyone coming out to maintenance anything.
So we've now implemented drone technology.
And none of these real customers even sound convinced with PG&E's answers.
That's something I want to believe.
It doesn't feel like that in our hearts.
I hope that's true.
PG&E even says that customer bills do not pay for this ad. And that's what got my ass up to make this video. Because where else are they making money to pay the company that shot these ads, to find these customers, to set up these discussions, and to serve them on TV, YouTube, and Hulu? And while we pay for these cringe ads that are supposed to make us like PG&E more, we're paying their top executives a lot more than their counterparts at other utility companies. PG&E has had a revolving door of CEOs who have historically received very competitive pay. Let's start with Peter Darby, who served as PG&E CEO between 2005 and 2011. He was tasked to lead the company out of their first bankruptcy. Peter made between $6 and $9 million a year during his tenure. He resigned after the pipeline explosion. To replace him, they brought in Anthony Early, tasked with restoring trust after the explosion. He made $10 million his first year as CEO and $12 million his last year. He retired in 2017. Then they brought in Geisha Williams, who made $10 million a year, which is actually a step back. But what really got me was that she was paid $2.6 million in severance the day she left PG&E in 2019. And the very next day, PG&E went into bankruptcy. William Johnson replaced Geisha the same year and was tasked with taking the company out of their second bankruptcy. He was supposed to make double what Geisha made, $18 million. But he couldn't even keep all of it because he left before his contract was even up. But he kept his $3 million signing bonus. And this is where it gets insane. William was replaced with Patricia Poppe, who was brought in from CMS Energy, a utility company in Michigan. Patty was given $32 million as a signing bonus for breaking her contract with CMS and took home a total of $52 million in her first year. In 2017, she made $17 million, more than any PG&E CEO before her. 95 times more than the median PG&E worker. She was the 8th most highly paid utility company CEO in America. And to date, she has made almost $100 million working at PG&E. And all that is fine, I guess, except while Patty has been cashing all these checks, ratepayers have seen a 100% increase in their bills since she became CEO.
You say you're saving customers dollars. I don't see it. We don't see it. For the last 5 years, our rates have gone up double, 100%. And I get it, in 10 years from now, perhaps that's the truth. But right now, no one's saving any money. In fact, it's costing us more.
And that leaves a bad taste in my mouth for someone who was tasked with rebuilding trust with their customers. She said in an interview last year that rates would be going down this year.
We are forecasting prices falling in 25.
Except
right now at 11, your power bill could go up once again. PG&E proposing yet another rate hike.
It would mark the 7th PG&E rate hike since the start of 2024.
Paying for bills has gotten so bad that the company now even lets you give the gift of energy.
So you might be asking,
what can be done about this?
For the average person, not a lot. PG&E has to become unmonopolized, which is a Herculean effort because it is a product of monopoly and it spends a fuck ton of money lobbying against that. There have been efforts by cities and counties to create their own utility companies. In 2020, Yolo County in Northern California wanted to buy the PG&E infrastructure in their area to establish a locally owned utility company, but the effort failed. The same year, a coalition of 20 California mayors proposed to turn PG&E into a customer-owned co-op. But the proposal was unsurprisingly rejected by PG&E and the state. In 2023, San Jose in the Bay Area created San Jose Power in an effort to create their own utility company. But it's still far away from becoming a replacement to PG&E. But if you think it's not possible, look no further than Santa Clara, also in the Bay Area, where their utility, Silicon Valley Power, is locally owned, nonprofit, and generates and distributes power to customers 60% cheaper compared to neighboring PG&E customers. I think we just need to want it enough. PG&E doesn't serve Californians. It exploits them. Because if anyone deserves a raise and a promotion, it's definitely the people that cause the most destruction the state has ever seen and making their customers responsible for paying for it. If you like this video, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.